My name is Gavin Evans, and this is my review of Resident Evil Village. And the more I play this franchise, the more I'm convinced that this is the best video game franchise ever. Last of Us only has two games, it doesn't count. But like Resident Evil 2, I love. Resident Evil 3, I liked. Resident Evil 4, I loved. Resident Evil 7, I love. And this game, I love. And that's a lot of love for one franchise. Like, I just am completely blown away. And as someone who loves horror movies and wants to write them, this game was actually inspiring to me. And I'll explain why. Because so many scary movies today revolve around ghosts and zombies. And look, I love all that stuff, but this game shows you can do more with the genre. You can give us giant, terrifying baby fetuses, which I'll get to. You can give us these evil dolls. You can give us a mole man. You can give us cyborgs. You can give us witches. You can give us vampires and werewolves. And it's just it's just inspiring to me that sure there's a lot of untapped potential in this specific genre, and it's nice to see it getting utilized for this game. And like I'm gonna break the game review into different sections because the game's kind of designed like that. So let's just get into it with the opening scene, and I thought it was just beautiful. It gives this game a nice dark fairy tale vibe to it, and I just love the graphic of the opening book, and the animation is stunning, and it's just so atmospheric and sets the foundation for this game so perfectly. It reminded me of the opening of Hellboy 2 or the animated sequence in Deathly Hallows Part 1 or the animated sequence in Krampus. It's just incredible work here. But shit goes down, and you end up in this deserted village, fighting Lycans, werewolves, which I really loved. There's a few sections of the map where it's just covered in crop fields, and you can barely see what's in front of you, and that added some nice tension. I love how the scarecrows are these frozen dead people. It just adds to the dread. I also love how you team up with this group of people for a little bit and everything goes south. And I thought that one girl was going to be a main character, but nope, she dies immediately. And I'm like, oh, I guess it's just Ethan. And I just love the snowy environment. I love the setting of the castle amidst the fog you can see. And going up to that castle, I had so much dread. And then you get this terrifying cutscene. Well, once again, it just inspires me as someone who wants to make horror movies one day. And you get knocked out, knocked out, big difference. And you wake up and you see Angie the doll in front of you, and you see all these terrifying creatures, and it's just pure nightmare fuel, and I absolutely loved that. And then we get to the next section, which I'll call the Lady D section because I can't say her name. It's like Dimitrescu, but I'll just say Lady D to make it easier. This section is pure perfection. I love the setting of this castle. It's filled with so much atmosphere. And I love that one little section at the bottom of the stairs next to the save room where as soon as you walk in, the sound echoes. It really enhances the dread. You just never know when someone's going to pop up. These witches come and go, and it just always had me at the edge of my seat, and I loved the nightmarish vibe to them. I also just love some of the setting in this castle. You go to a cellar filled with blood, and that's really creepy, and there was these vampires that pop up. Loved that. There was these winged vampires, which I really loved as well. So like just setting wise, atmosphere wise, I loved this. It was really scary, but Lady Dimitrescu is so fantastic as the villain here. She's elegant and composed, but also unhinged and terrifying. And Maggie Robertson's voice performance is just impeccable. I also love how she kind of becomes similar to Mr. X, where she just follows you around and you're just trying to stay ahead of her. It's just very heart pounding, and I just loved this section. My only issue is I like the boss fight. It was fine enough, but I would have preferred it if Lady Dimitrescu stayed in her normal form. I don't think they had to go full out there, but still a fun boss fight. Then we got to Donna and her doll Angie section, and look, on the way there, you've got this section where you need a combination to this safe, and you look out the window and a werewolf pops up, and it got me really good. Fantastic jump scare. But I love the build up to this lodge. You go past this graveyard, and you just see this waterfall, very atmospheric. And as soon as you walk into this lodge, it's just dripping with atmosphere. I love creepy dolls. A very underrated horror movie is Dead Silence, and I wish we got more scary movies with dolls. Like, that's something I would definitely want to write, to be honest, because it's just so terrifying. And you go down into this basement, and you've got this section where you have to unlock all of these doors, and there's lots of puzzles, and it's really well done, but the escalation is so perfect. And how sometimes you see people in the hallway, and then it gets dark, and then there's this red light, and you find this mysterious bookshelf with these doors behind it, and that had me on edge. And you go down this well that was disgusting, and that had me on edge. Then there was some radio talk, very staticky, and that had me on edge. So like I was already like I looked at my legs, my hairs were just sticking out. Loved it. And then we get to it, and I'm not exaggerating when I say this, but this section is one of the most terrifying things I've ever experienced in a movie, video game, TV show, whatever. This giant baby fetus is the thing of pure nightmares. And I love how your flashlight can only go so far, so you get closer to it, and then you see it, and now you're really close. You have to get away fast. And I love how when you're running away, the baby cries because it just wants to play. But, you know, you have to run away, otherwise you die. And the giant demented, like, mouth, really terrifying. Like, just heart pounding. You gotta hide under the bed. You've got to wait for the elevator, and just every second of this is relentless. And I didn't know if I've been more scared in a video game in my life. So then you finally get to the elevator and you're safe, but then you get to this section with all these doors, and I thought this was just very disturbing as well, very visually unhinged, just dolls, just the design of them, it's creepy. I do love the imagery of stabbing Angie in the blood that forms, and after that you think you'd be safe, but as you run away, there are zombies rising from the grave, and it's just relentless, and I love that about these games. So those two sections, 10 out of 10, perfect, love them. Then we get to Salvatore Moreau, and I love the look of the windmill amidst the fog. Really atmospheric, and how there's that one giant werewolf hunting you down, keeps you on edge. And I do love how they kind of go about him a bit differently because you encounter him just like that. And he's just so bubbly and slimy and gross, and I dug that. And you get to this boss fight, and it's good. I like how you need to get this crank for the windmill, and you don't have to backtrack. You get a zip line that takes you back to the first location. Um, yeah, I still really like this section. It's not as good as the other two, and I'll touch on that a bit later, but still really fun. Then you get to the Carl Heisenberg section. Well, kind of before that, you have to go into this lair filled with these lycans and werewolves, and yeah, this section was just relentless. So many enemies, like I pretty much used up all my ammo and it just had me on edge. It was really great, really fun. And then you have to fight this giant dude, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, give me a break, please. But then you get to Heisenberg's lair, which is this giant factory, and I just love the vibe here. Once again, as someone who wants to tell unique horror stories, hopefully one day, seeing this factory just inspired me because it's just so atmospheric and it's just such a unique setting for horror, and especially cyborg enemies. Oh shit, I forget if it's 94 or 99, but there's one VHS movie with this demented cyborg, and this section reminded me of that in the best possible way. There was this sense of dread with these big dudes, and I do like the boss fight where you're in the vehicle. That was good. So yeah, then you play as Chris, and the difference between Chris and Ethan is night and day. Like, you are just shooting down enemies, you're just going as fast as you can, and it's just so fun. It's so different from everything else, but I loved it. And then we do get to Mother Miranda, the big boss fight, and I thought this was shit. And the big reason why is that there's no sense of progression. I like it when after the enemy takes on damage a bit, there's a cutscene and she might be a bit more scarred or whatever, but here I had no idea how close I was getting to the end. I feel like you need that sense of escalation. So, yeah. So, story-wise, I do want to talk about because, I actually did like the story and all the lore and everything going on here. I like how it's a proper sequel to Resident Evil 7. And I liked the tryst with Ethan because up until that point, the scene when you lose your hand and then you put it back on and just use a first aid kit, I'm like, okay, you lost me, Zale. That's a bit too much. It's kind of silly and kind of campy, but I just don't buy it. And I even had that issue with the last game, and now this game kind of rectifies that. And the tryst really works for me, surprisingly. And it kind of adds to that dread. Like, can you imagine just finding out you're dead and you look at yourself and you're just this goo? I don't know, psychologically, that really got under my skin. And I thought Ethan had a lot more personality this game. Where, like, I love how pissed off he is by the end of it. He's just done with this shit. And I was a bit concerned with the way Mia was taken out at the start. But once again, by the end, I was on board. And I just feel like you need to be open-minded and go on the journey the game wants you to and not just make up judgments at the start. And I'm glad I kept my mind open because, yeah. So yeah, that was really great. The game also ends on a really sweet note with Rose visiting her dad's grave, and I don't know, I thought it had some nice emotions there. So yeah, like I don't play these games for the story, but I actually thought it was a standout here. I thought the graphics looked incredible. I love the unique creature designs throughout. it's just filled with so much atmosphere, and this game keeps you on edge. It's just perfectly handled, and the gameplay is great. The weapons, the leveling up, everything worked for me. The only reason why I can't go quite perfect with this game is that I feel like the structure is the fundamental flaw. I feel like this game should have begun with the village, and then, okay, you do all that, but then you encounter the mole man first. Then you do Angie and the doll. Sorry, Donna and Angie the doll. Then you do Carl Heisenberg. And then you end with Lady Dimitrescu because she's such a great villain, and I don't know, the first half of this game is definitely superior to the second half, and I would have preferred it if they shuffled it up a bit better, but I still love this game. I'm so close to giving it a perfect grade. Like, I'm so close. I loved it. I really did, and it just inspires me that you can make something as terrifying with this without zombies, without ghosts and demons, but using cyborgs and making them scary, and werewolves and vampires and dolls and baby fetuses. And I just feel like there's so much creativity here, and they're really trying to do things differently. The setting has so much atmosphere. This game is just filled with dread, and I loved it. I can't quite go perfect, but it's very close. I'm giving Resident Evil Village an 8.5 out of 10. Okay, have you played Resident Evil Village? What did you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Stay tuned for more videos soon, and Gavin out.